Have you ever been in a room full of people and you're all kind of sharing what you do and you mention library music and like nobody gets it? Well, what if I told you there was a place where folks gather to talk all things production and library music and they are as excited and passionate as you are? Well, that would be the Production Music Conference. And this year, Mrs. 52Q's joined me on my annual pilgrimage to Los Angeles, and she's joining me here on the podcast today to talk about it because it was her first PMC, and we're going to be chatting about how we went from spontaneously throwing a party in Hollywood to realizing how important community and connection is in this business. So we are doing a PMC recap on this week's episode of the 52Qs podcast. What is happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the 52Qs podcast, where each week we are diving deep into the world of production and library music. My name is Dave Kropf, and not only am I a composer, I'm also a professor of production music at Full Sail University, and it is so good to be with you here today. Whether you are watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast on the go, I just appreciate you for spending part of your day here with me. Also, a huge word of thanks to the family, friends, and neighbor subscribers of 52Qs who are composers just like you, looking to write better music but also find success in the sync music industry. And 52Qs is there to help with workshops, Zoom feedback sessions, live streams, and a ton more. If you want to learn more about 52Qs, then stick around because I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later in today's episode and how you can join us. Speaking of later in today's episode, I'm happy to be playing a new cue for you. This one is an investigation tension cue specifically written for Shark Week over on Discovery, and it's called Wreckage Ralph. So you can tune in a little bit later for that. But first, let's jump into today's topic. I am fresh off of the airplane from my trip to Los Angeles for the annual Production Music Conference, and it was a really great trip. And if you'll remember from last year, the travel was a little suspect, but thankfully I did not go by myself because Mrs. 52Qs herself, my wife Shannon, joined me, and we had an amazing trip. So here is my conversation with Shannon as we talk all things PMC 2025. It is so good to welcome back to the podcast Mrs. 52Qs herself, Shannon Kropf. Shannon, how are you doing today, my dear?
I am okay, aside from some just weird random computer stuff. Isn't that the way?
Yeah, technical stuff just, I don't know about you, but it totally sticks on me, man. And I'm just
It does. I'm sitting here, I'm like, I'm not grumpy. I'm not grumpy. I'm not grumpy.
We're recording a podcast.
I'm grumpy.
Yes, I'm fine with all of this. Which, I wanted to bring you back on the podcast. First of all, because I like you and I think you're awesome, but also to talk about the Production Music Conference. Now, this is my third PMC, but this is your first PMC. And I want to talk about your impressions, kind of going from knowing about the production music industry and everything and starting to do some of the back office work, as well as album artwork and metadata wrangling and talking with publishers, and then just jumping into the deep end there at PMC. But before we get into all of that, I just want to thank you, the audience, for all of the folks who came up to us and said thank you, that said hello. It was amazing meeting all of you, and especially those folks who genuinely asked how my trip was. They're like, "Oh, Dave, how was your trip this year?" And at first I was like, "What? Why is everybody so concerned about my trip?" And then I thought, "Oh, that's right.
Oh,
I totally trauma dumped on YouTube last year."
Yeah.
So a lot of folks were genuinely concerned. The trip over was fine, and I realized something really important. Two things. First of all, TSA pre-check.
When?
Absolutely worth the $75 for 5 years. We didn't have to take off our belts. We didn't have to take off our shoes. We just...
They actually say, don't take off your jackets.
Yep.
It will waste time. It was... Even at LAX, where we still were in line for a little bit, it was still a little bit. And I looked over at the guys in the, the muggle security checks, and I was like, "Oh my God, we would still be standing there."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definite win as far as I'm concerned.
100%. And they used our first name. Hope you have a good trip,
Oh,
Dave.
yeah. Thanks, Shannon.
Eh,
Well, isn't this the grand old days of flight?
I know the before times, man. We were flying like it was the 90s, man.
Yeah, man.
And on top of all of that, as of the time of the recording and as of the time of the trip, the government shut down and everything. So these TSA agents aren't getting paid. So
They didn't have to be nice to us, and they were lovely.
Yep, they were well within their rights to be super grumpy, but they weren't, and so it was really smooth trip. So I realized that first, TSA pre-check, absolutely worth it.
Yes.
Second, that it's not that I don't like traveling. I don't like traveling by myself. So it was really good having my, emotional support Shannon with me in case anything went sideways, because I realized, last year when things started kind of spinning out of control on the way back, especially, I was just in my own head. Yeah, you have your headphones, but you've got nobody to talk to. You've got nobody there to just kind of talk you down, in case you start spiraling. And I didn't even think I was one who spiraled, but apparently once you turn 50, other things start changing. But there were a couple of times on the way back, on the trip back, where things got a little spicy. But having you there, I didn't feel alone. There was somebody we could talk to. There was somebody that who was going through it as well. I didn't listen to nearly as much music as I did last year because we were chatting and hanging out. And so
likewise, we didn't ever watch TV in the room or anything. If we were having a quiet moment, we were either being quiet or talking about what was going on and who needed what and that type of thing.
Yeah, and like strategizing, and you even did well. I think you slept through the class that I had to teach, because I had to get up at 6 a.m. and teach a lecture for students in Orlando.
Right.
But it's 9 a.m. Orlando, 6 a.m. and I'm in the hotel room talking about writing dramedy cues and all that, and you just slept right through that.
Well, I had on my AirPods with the noise canceling and a sleep mask on. So as far as I was concerned, you weren't even there.
But it was such an amazing trip. And so the flight out was great. TSA pre-check was fantastic. We got into the hotel. We ended up going Monday afternoon. And the first big thing was meeting Reed. Reed picked us up, and he was traveling from Japan, from Tokyo, and he had been in the States for a few days. And so he picked us up, and that was fantastic, and was the first of so many amazing hangout times and meeting folks specifically from the 52 Qs community, whether they're, community members or subscribers or whatever. It was so amazing seeing people in 3 dimensions that we'd only ever seen on Zoom or even just a little thumbnail. How did you feel about kind of landing in LA? This is your first time in Los Angeles. We had been to San Diego before, but how did you feel at the beginning of this trip, not really kind of knowing what was coming down the road?
Before we get too deep into it, I've been thinking about Frank. I want to put it in here at the beginning in case. Frank, if you're watching, you came up to talk to us at the end of the first luncheon, and it was like the surface of the sun.
It was so hot.
And I feel like we blew you off only because we were like, I'm going to die if I don't, like Dave's going to have a heat stroke.
Yeah.
Seriously. So I wanted to reconnect with you all conference long and couldn't make it happen. So Frank.
We see you, Frank.
We see you. Drop us a line.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for that. Yeah.
So how did I feel at the beginning of the trip? I was a little nervous. I talked a little bit in the weekly talk that I do with the community called A Little Chat with Shannon. I did talk about the fact that I started working at home during COVID, so I haven't had any big trip. I mean, you and I have gone on little trips and stuff, but haven't flown in like 10 years. And just so I had built in a little bit of anxiety just about traveling and the whole thing. As it turns out, it was fine. It was not a problem at all. Which was great. Kind of reminded me of the before times, the Shannon I'd like to get back to, just supremely cool. Not like, oh, I'm so cool, but like I'm cool with what's happening. I'm cool with people. So that turned out not to be a thing, though I have to say that walking downstairs for the first time after we'd gotten up there, I was so nervous. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
How does this work? And I'm taken back to like mid 2000s, Shannon, who like flew to Germany by yourself. We would take, trips every year. We take a whole team of interns and travel internationally and drive from Kandern, Germany, all the way up to Belgium. And so we're not unfamiliar with travel, but the last several years we've just
been quieter.
Been much quieter. But you conquered the stairs.
Yay. I think then, of course, we had our 52 Qs meetup that first night, that Monday night. So thankfully, we had a couple of hours to just kind of chill, which was good. I needed that. And then we went downstairs and we were getting ready to go over to the place where we're having the meetup. And there was 3 or 4 guys already there at the shuttle. And it was a gorgeous night, typical LA night, but no humidity. The weather is beautiful. The sky is crystal clear. The sun is starting to set. So it's golden hour. And it's just this like, this is wonderful. So we took the shuttle, we went over to the place, and we went over quite early, Dave, just to make sure that they remembered we were coming and we had a place to be and all that type of thing. And we went over early enough that I did have that scary moment of like, nobody's going to come. Like, I'm going to throw a birthday party. Nobody's going to come.
Yeah, because we had reserved table seating for 25.
Right.
Because we had an RSVP. We were meeting at the NBC Grill, sports bar and grill, which is where we met last year. And last year we had, I think, maybe 10 folks, and we were able to all surround one of the big 8 tops. And so this year, 25 folks had RSVP'd. And so they had us on the outside, on the side, on the patio.
Yeah, they gave us the whole patio, which was amazing.
So we had booked for 25. But yeah, I get you. We get there early, a couple of us, and I thought, oh my gosh, nobody's going to show up to this, and we're going to look like idiots.
Which is so crazy.
It's insane. And why is that crazy, Shannon?
Any number of reasons.
Well, because we ended up having like, I think 30 something folks show
I've
up.
heard some people said we had 30, some people said we had 35. At any rate, it was more than 8 or 9. And it was the coolest time. Seeing, again, like you said, seeing people in 3 dimensions and being in the same space with them was really, really important. We have a community member who plopped down beside me, Ms. Juju Beats, who I love and adore, and got to hug her neck. And then she was with me like the whole time, and we never even got a chance to talk. It was crazy how much there was going on. And having said that, just to be in the same space and share a little energy, share some food and some drink and some air, and so I didn't even get to talk to everybody that night, but I did get to meet pretty much everybody. And it was so much fun. And a member was telling me about something that he had going on, and I just thought, wow, I have a tribe.
Which is, that's a big deal for you.
It's a big deal for me because I lost my tribe in 2021 and figured, well, there's just no more tribe for me. And why is tribe important? Well, if you're watching this podcast, you know that we believe that we're better together and community is a big thing. And I realized that I had been still on the outside of the community, kind of looking in. I mean, I'm giving myself to it. I'm whatever, but I still was kind of, keeping people at a distance because I had some trauma around people. But a lot of that, sorry to get all woo-woo, but a lot of that healed up on that Monday night, sitting there with our people, hanging out, laughing, having a good time, seeing new people walking in, and it was like, oh, okay, I don't have to be afraid of people. It's okay that I had a bad experience where people I trusted turned out not to be trustworthy, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen every time. And so, huge amount of healing, which made me excited to start the conference proper the next day.
Yeah, I remember. But by the way, that's huge. As a husband, I could about tear up right now because walking beside you through all of that and feeling kind of a sense of betrayal and all of that, where all you want to do is kind of sit in your house, where with your things and your safe people. And so putting yourself out there, and not just via Zoom, not just, in the kind of one-way parasocial type of a relationship, but start making actual real connections with real human people in the same space is no small achievement. And so I'm happy. I'm happy for you. I'm happy about everything that's coming up next, and the rest of PMC kind of manifested that. But I do want to say at one point, all right, so we booked for 25. We ended up with folks showing up who weren't even in the community. They showed up because somebody in the community said, "Hey man, we got this really cool thing. Why don't you?" And at that point, I think it was Shannon, you leaned over and said, "Dave, you do realize we're throwing a party in Los Angeles right now." Which blows my mind, because all I was thinking was, you know what, we're going to book a table at a restaurant, and anybody there who is in town, why don't you come join us? And it blew up.
It was so much fun.
It was so much fun. It was so much fun, and so much chaos and food and drinks and people coming in and out. I was kind of flittering around to the different tables. I think I was the last person to eat.
Oh, I know that for a fact.
And we had folks like prepay for their meals so that we could just kind of one check. And shout out to, I think his name was Clint. Is that right? Was that our server's name?
I think so. Yeah. He was amazing.
He was absolutely amazing. But I will say, I've never signed a restaurant tab that large before. That was pretty epic. But
yeah.
I don't know what we're going to do next year. We could either like rent out a ballroom or something. I don't know, but I don't know. That's for future Dave.
I did spy a little like private meeting area outdoors at the hotel, and my mind is ticking through some things. But yeah, if people are able to make it next year, we're going to need a bigger space.
Yes. And that's a tradition I'd like to keep up, that we're calling it
absolutely
PMC-Eve, or the PMC-Eve meetup for the 52Qs folks, was undoubtedly one of the highlights. And we'll have some pictures that we'll put up here so you can kind of see the event. But we didn't even get a picture of everybody who came because it was so frenetic and chaotic in the most beautiful way.
Yes.
In the absolute most beautiful way.
I don't love frenetic, chaotic crowd scenes, but it was good. It was like overflowing joy kind of chaos.
Yeah, like the chaos of a Christmas morning and everybody's like tearing off.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know what's happening, but I love all these people here and I feel comfortable and safe. And so you're able to just kind of enjoy the beauty in the chaos. And it was lovely. It was absolutely lovely. So a big shout out to everybody who came to the PMC-Eve. It was amazing seeing many of you for the first time and many of you seeing you again, sometimes for the third and fourth. And we have folks who have come to the family reunion, here in Orlando and seeing those old friends again. Yep, there's our family reunion mug from 2024. Yep, which we will keep doing as well.
Yes.
We're going to keep doing that. All right, so we come down off the high of throwing a party in Los Angeles and in Hollywood, no less. That is ridiculous when you say it out loud.
Burbank. I mean,
all right, come on. Let's be real.
Where the magic happens.
Our hotel room was on the 22nd floor. We could oversee or overlook Universal Studios, and if you looked over, you could see the Warner Brothers lot. And us Gen Xers, like Friends was our sitcom that those people were our age when we were that age, and so knowing that 10 seasons of Friends happened right over there.
Right there.
That was really, really cool. And so we kind of put a close on Monday night, riding high. And then, of course, I'm waking up crazy early because I'm still on East Coast time. And then we get into the PMC proper. And to be honest, just all throughout, I didn't go to many panels at all.
That was unexpected for me because, I feel sometimes like I'm kind of making this all up as I go along. So I was expecting to go and get an education. And they had great sessions. But two things occurred to me. The first is that, hey, I can watch this later. I can't always go over here and shake this guy's hand. So the person-to-person interaction took greater priority. And the second thing that I wasn't expecting is everybody's just making this up as we go along. I did actually have a really interesting conversation. It was with a publisher or somebody, and he pointed out that because production music is an unregulated industry, we don't have unions, we don't have any sort of collective bargaining power or anything like that. So, the reason it feels like we're all making it up is because we're all making it up.
Right, because there's no handbook.
Right, there's no handbook. There's no, new to music publishing, start here. There's no commonly accepted meaning of some of the metadata terms there. It was interesting to me how much of a Wild West this particular part of the industry still is.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, we don't have any real handbook to go on, and the industry isn't necessarily old enough to have a super long lineage of people who have done it successfully and replicably successfully. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and the industry is shifting. Just yesterday, I did an interview that's going to be coming out in November with the head of production for Warner Chappell. And the industry is dramatically different than when he got into it just 20 years ago, 25 years ago, which is an eternity in technology and an eternity in entertainment. And so, we're all just kind of winging it, doing the best we can and trying to be as good to people as we can while still making it, viable. But I think that's why these conferences are so important, is you get to face with people.
Right.
And if relationship is still the highest form of currency, then relationships in person are the highest form of building relationships.
Absolutely.
Because I realize, you're sitting down and having lunch with somebody, and you're talking life, you're talking sports, you're talking, how was your trip? You're talking, how are your kids? You're doing all of the stuff that isn't necessarily directly business. But what you're doing is that you are putting foundational supports under a relationship. You're building trust, you're building familiarity so that when it comes time to do business, now you're working with somebody that you know and that you hopefully like and that you can partner with. And so, the night before when we sat down, we're like, okay, here are our goals. This is what we want to accomplish. And there were three goals, three main goals. The biggest goal was to go and, I don't want to say biggest because I don't think they kind of shift around, but one of the goals was to support the 52Qs community as they are, many of them going to their first PMC and being there, supporting them, helping them out, and being a familiar face in what can be ultimately a very unfamiliar place. So that was the first thing, support the community. The second was to support our relationships with publishers that we are working with outside of running the community, but into the briefing room, and now the brand new Sync Accelerator, which is out of the gate, and the first brief launches on Monday, and so kind of supporting those relationships, and also kind of putting a bellows on the relationships which are already very warm, and that includes like Sam and Sarah with Real Crafter, who are amazing people. I could not be more excited about working with them. And
Absolutely.
They're just genuine, good-hearted people that just happen to make an awesome product, right? I am unapologetically biased towards Real Crafter. So, and then the third is to create new relationships and or kind of rekindle embers that might have cooled off. So I chatted with several of the folks that we've either had on the podcast or have done workshops with us, and just say, like, here, let's kind of pick this back up and see what's next. And so as far as I'm concerned, we accomplished all of those goals.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And of course, the most exciting part to me was being there for the community. We had so many people from 52Qs there. And after the first day, the amount of new people who we didn't know, hi, if you're one of those, who came up and said, wow, your people are talking about what you're doing and it sounds amazing. I was like, oh my God, you guys are our street team. It's so cool. But, obviously anyone who puts the type of time and effort and expense, anybody who invests in those ways to come to PMC, has their eye on the future, and so it was really, really exciting to sit around, late at night after the conference, to sit around with some of our kind of key members, core members, I guess, and just talk about what's the future of production music, what's the future of 52Qs, what are good ideas, what are things we haven't thought of, and just sort of dreaming all together about the industry and where we're going and what we're all doing, not just Dave and Shannon, but what are we all doing? And that was super exciting to me. I'm not great with small talk. I tend to want to go deep on a particular issue rather than, and you're great at the whole networking thing. But here's the thing. If any of you are introverts out there and thinking, oh my God, this sounds terrible. I thought the same thing. And as it turns out, I've always hated networking stuff. But as it turns out, when you're networking about something you care about, it's much easier. Like, I'm not being mandated by a boss to go and network. I'm networking because you guys are cool and we got some synergy here. Let's see what's up. So anyway, I was just blown away by the kindness of everybody. There were a few LA types there, but for the most part, it's real people making real music. And there's something, about production music that doesn't necessarily attract the biggest egos.
That's right.
Because if you have a giant ego, you're not okay with your name not appearing in the credits.
Right.
Yeah.
The most successful people in the industry whose names you'll never know.
That's right. That's right. So, that not that everybody's perfect and everything's great and we're all drinking lemonade and watching the sunset together. But good people, good music. It was good.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, and I've gotten this before, but this year especially felt like this. When if like anybody who was in band in high school, right? And you're like a band nerd, and there's only like a really small handful of you that are like really geeking out about it, and you'll go to the DCI shows and you get like really like nerd out. But everybody else in high school is like, whatever, marching band. But then you go to like music school. And you're like first chair and you're top of the heap there, all state and everything. But then you go to music school and you realize that everybody else in school is the music nerd that you were in your own school. It's a whole group of people who were first chair and all state and everything. And so the kind of the magnetic atmosphere that happens when you get so many people in one place who are serious about what they're doing, who are passionate about it, who can talk about it endlessly and have a bottomless ability to just absorb as much about that thing that they're crazy about. That's what the PMC felt like.
Yeah.
It was, equal parts publishers and composers, and they have done an amazing job. A huge shout out to Morgan at PMC.
Oh my gosh.
Who is
she was together the whole time. Like I never saw her sweat.
Large and in charge, man.
Yes.
And she's had no small role in building this kind of community that bridges composers and publishers. And so, no, I don't think I sat through one whole panel, if I'm being honest.
I did.
Because I had meetings or had to get off to lunch, or I felt more productive like hanging out in the lobby and talking with folks, whether they're community folks or library folks, or meeting other composers from around the world, Japan, UK, Scotland, whatever. And I went to very, very few panels. I did watch a little bit of the panels from the hotel room when I needed my container space.
Yeah. Like one morning I was tired. I just wanted to rest for a minute before I hopped in the shower and did all the stuff. And so they were live streaming the session. So I just watched the session while I put on makeup and stuff. It was pretty great.
Yeah. So are you glad you went?
Yes. The energy was so good, and just enthusiastic people, grateful, happy, and again, it's a mountaintop moment. I get it, but yeah, I think I'll always go as long as I'm able.
Yeah.
Just to hang out with our guys, if nothing else. If I never talked to another publisher or metadata wrangler or whatever, if I could just sit and talk with our community, that is completely fulfilling to me.
Yeah. Everywhere we walked, we saw people we knew. There's not one moment, actually the only moment where we walked through the lobby that we didn't know somebody was when we were checking out of the hotel.
That's right.
Literally the only time we didn't recognize or know somebody in the lobby.
From the first moment we walked in, and I forget who was there. I think Greg was there and
Jesse was there.
Jesse. Yes.
Yep, all the way from Amsterdam, man.
Man, that made me happy. I'm like, oh God, I'm not going to be completely alone in a sea of new faces. How cool is that?
And it's just going to get bigger and bigger. But I got to tell you, Shannon, I'm really proud of what we're doing here, and I'm proud of how things are just kind of organically growing, not limited to going to PMC and not limited to the exciting things we've got going on with Sam and Sarah at Real Crafter, and reigniting some of the flames with some of our publishers who we've not really worked with, and hearing some amazing things coming down the pipe that we can't even talk about yet. 2026 is going to be amazing, and I'm ready. I'm ready to book. I've already put PMC 2026 dates on the calendar. It's a similar.
Do we get extra early bird if we go ahead and book now?
We should get. Here's what I know. I think I want to save my pennies for. I think I want to fly business class, man. I got to tell you, because the flight back. We sat next to this dude, and by we, I mean Shannon, because Shannon is so generous. She gives me the aisle seat so that I can I'm 6'2", I'm a big dude, and so being able to kind of stretch out my legs, which leaves Shannon with the stranger danger next to us. Now, flying out, we had the sweetest little old lady that Shannon was sitting next to, and so that was great. But flying back,
bless his heart, my seatmate. He was an
anxious flyer.
I think he was just an anxious person, but he tried to get Dave to swap seats with him. Now the guy's shorter than I am. Doesn't need he's sitting with plenty of leg room, and Dave's just like, nah, brah.
Yeah.
But he made some really odd comments, and then he was on the phone before we took off. He's like, I'm on this really full flight, and I think I'm going to have to take a Xanax. And I was just like, dude.
Yeah, and that's when you're like, headphones, noise canceling. Yeah.
And then he was like, well, I need to be on the outside because I drink a lot in the mornings, and I'm going to have to pee a lot. And I was like, I'll let you up.
I'll get up. I could use the standing time.
Yeah. And then, so I guess he did take his Xanax, because thank God he fell asleep after a while. But when we landed, like literally when we felt the plane land, he was like, oh, we're here. I mean, it was fun.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, I don't want to fly first class because I think I'm all that. But I think it's going to be worth it. So I'm going to start socking some money away right now.
Awesome. Well, just put a little bit back.
Yeah.
Save a little bit.
I'd rather eat bologna and cheese sandwiches in the hotel than have that anxiety. I felt so bad for you because, yeah.
I'm like, screw this guy. Headphones, iPad. I'm coloring. I'm playing games. I don't care what he thinks.
No, I might be singing a different song when it comes time to actually book the tickets, and you see that,
it's very expensive.
Yeah, it's 2.5 times more. Mm-hmm. Are you sure you want that mimosa before you take off?
Is it really that important?
I don't know. We'll see.
I did want to just kind of wrap up. Just going gave me an even better perspective on how we as a community approach this business a little bit differently than a lot of people do. The first thing is our number one motivator is not money. It's growth of the people in our community. And we will always choose people over profit. We just always will. That's the way we're wired. That's what we spent our entire lives up until this point doing. We know that the rewards of being there for people are huge. And so, yeah, we get given back to when we help you grow.
That's right.
And just, I'll just sum it up that way, being so very people-centric. We're not into the hustle. We know that you have to do something sustainable. You can hustle and get a placement, and that's great, and maybe it leads to bigger things, but I've heard so many stories over the years of I was very successful in my music and my marriage fell apart. We don't want to see that happening to anybody. So we really are more about the people than we are about the profit. and we're going to stay that way. And I had a thought. Someone was talking about money, or I don't remember, and Lord God bless me with money. I'm not anti-money, and I do believe that a rising tide lifts all ships. So I've seen that happen over and over again. Our success is your success. Your success is our success. So why wouldn't we all be in this together, right? And I had the thought while we were there of like, we see things differently than a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And it's so baked into the nature and the character of who you and I are. And I think that like-minded people will continue to find us.
Yeah.
Not that it's about finding us, but I wish that everybody could have the kind of connection that we just experienced. And I heard my last comment, two things that I heard over and over again. The first is, I'm in the community. I don't really know where to start, or I haven't posted anything for feedback yet because I don't know what I'm doing. The only way to succeed in this particular industry is to fail. The only way you'll ever know where to start or how to proceed is to start and then proceed. There is no amount of reading or video watching or feedback sessions that are going to equip you until you start putting music on paper. You know what I mean? So that's number one. Put your stuff up in the weekly feedback. Do whatever you can to get feedback on your stuff, because that's the way we all learn. You don't learn a language. You don't become fluent in a language by reading a textbook. You become fluent in a language by speaking the language. So I want to encourage you. I feel like sometimes, and I see it in my Full Sail students as well, they get really hung up on, well, what will you think of me if I put some crap up there? And I'm like, well, I'll think that I have some stuff to help you get better. I mean, there's no fear. There's no, you don't have to be afraid. And the second thing that I heard is, this is a lonely business, because you're sitting in your studio, whether that's a corner of your bedroom or a loft over the garage. You're sitting there, you're trying to guess at what the brief wants, what the publisher wants. Your immediate family may or may not be musical. They may or may not get what you're trying to do. So we're here as a refuge. We're here to keep you company while you're doing this kind of solitary thing. Just so you know, you're not alone. Literally, you're not the only one thinking and dealing with the things that you're thinking about and dealing with. And we're a safe place to come and do all that stuff.
Yeah, and that was proven with the energy of folks from all over the world, from the 52 Qs community, meeting up for just a handful of days in Los Angeles and having a family there, folks that you can, that your tribe, there's your tribe.
Yep.
And it's really interesting. The last thing I'll say, it's really interesting. We went to the Mark Awards. Huge shout out to Dennis, who was nominated
And Nora,
and Nora nominated. Sadly, they didn't win. I think that's a crime against the universe, but I'm very, very biased. But just to have been nominated, I mean, really, I never really understood, like, oh, it's an honor just to be nominated. Well, to be nominated means that you already beat out a whole bunch of other people. So to be in the top 3 to get nominated, that was huge. And so a shout out to Dennis and Nora.
That was also a super fun night, because we all gathered before we went in. We all went and sat. We took up 1.5
tables,
big round tables, and it was such a sense of camaraderie and brothers in arms, so to speak. It was very cool.
Yeah, that was
Sorry,
very,
go
very
ahead.
cool. But one of the things that came up in some of the speeches was the idea of community. And so I just, we're already on it.
Yeah.
We've been doing it.
Yeah.
for years now. And so we're trailblazing that idea here, and would love to have you join us. Even if you're not a paid subscriber or whatever, it's free to join the 52 Qs community.
Right.
Now, I've talked about it at the end of every podcast, but PMC is jet fuel for motivation, jet fuel for connections, and is like nuclear jet fuel for like just how do I want to say it? Just motivation and propulsion into this business. And so I'm so glad that we went. I'm so glad that you were able to go. So glad to meet everybody from all over the world for coming up and saying hi to us. Folks coming up saying, "Oh, I really appreciated this episode," or this episode had somebody from Japan come up and say, "I came here because of your episode on the PMC. We flew from Japan because of that episode." I'm like, oh my gosh, had another person come up earnestly saying, "Oh, my favorite episode was when you and Shannon talked about gratitude." These things that I feel like, nobody cares. Everybody wants like logic tutorials and how to write tension cues. But no, somebody out there resonated with us talking about forgiveness. And so I know that this episode, somebody's going to resonate with it, even though it's not going to, it's not going to net us a bunch of ad dollars from Google, and it's not going to, get played as much as my shakuhachi video. But that's not why we do this.
That's right.
And so, Shannon, my love, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. And of course, you're always welcome back. And I'm looking forward to PMC 2026. Once again, a huge word of thanks to Shannon for joining me here on the podcast today. And a huge word of thanks to not only everybody who came by and said hi and shook our hand, it was amazing meeting you, but especially the 52 Qs community who came out in force and represented the community. And the buzz you guys helped spread about the community and just organically growing. Yeah, I'm so excited about 2026, and I look forward to maybe seeing you out there next year at PMC in Los Angeles. And the dates are, I can go ahead and tell you the dates because they've announced them. They are the 7th, the 6th through the 8th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, October of 2026. I've already got it on my calendar. All right, so we are going to take a quick break, and when we return, we're going to be checking out my latest Shark Week investigation tension cue titled Wreckage Ralph. We'll be right back. Every week I talk about how this episode and the podcast and the community, the channel, would not be possible without the amazing support of our family, friends, and neighbors, subscribers of 52 Qs, who do pay their actual real-life money to keep all of this going. And in addition to being thriving members of the community, as well as supporting me and Shannon and everything that we're doing here, they also receive extra perks like live streams, workshops, Zoom feedback sessions, hundreds and hundreds of hours of video archives, weekly cue breakdowns, production music almanac, living ebook, and the opportunities to submit to real music libraries. Now, it's free to join 52 Qs. You can just go to 52qs.com and sign up, be a member of the community. We would love to have you. It will always be free to join the community. But if you've been watching, or if maybe this is your first time, but if you're wondering, is there a way to kind of level up my production music skills in the industry, meeting like-minded, super friendly, very generous composers? Then why don't you think about subscribing? Memberships start at around $4 a month, and we would love to have you. Again, that's 52qs.com. That was Wreckage, Ralph, which is a cue that I am sending up to Discovery Channel for Shark Week. They were actually looking for investigation type Shark Week cues. And as much as I try not to, I just cannot get away from using minor seconds. Jaws and John Williams has just indelibly imprinted upon me that if you're doing music about sharks, you got to have minor seconds. And so, you know what? I'm not avoiding it anymore. I'm just going to steer into that. For you family and friends subscribers, be on the lookout for an upcoming cue breakdown of Wreckage Ralph. And for you family, friends, and neighbors, this is a cue that I wrote in real time during a recent live stream. If you want to see this get written from scratch, then you can check that out. It is already up in the community for you to check out. But that is going to do it for me today. I hope you've had an amazing week. And as always, a massive word of thanks to the family, friends, and neighbors, subscribers of 52 Cues, without whom we would not be able to do any of this. And for you, for watching here today, I know you have a ton of options out there. And so the fact that you spend a little bit of your day here with me today really does mean a lot. If you want to hear more from 52 Cues and what we do, then stick around, because there's going to be a video following right when we're done. And you can go to last week's podcast episode, or you can subscribe and all of that, because I talk about production music every single week. But that's going to do it for me this week. I hope you've had an amazing week, and I hope if you went to PMC, hope you made it back safely, and I look forward to seeing you in an upcoming PMC. And even if you didn't, you know what? I'm sure that you had an amazing week, and I'm also sure that your next week is going to be amazing. How do I know that? Because I trust and believe that the universe has amazing plans just for you. Until next time, peace. The 52 Cues podcast is copyright 2025 818 Studios, all rights reserved. The music played on the podcast is copyright of their respective owners and is used with permission and for educational purposes only. For more information, including joining the community, submitting your cue for review, or becoming a member subscriber of 52 Cues, head over to 52cues.com.